NewsNation's own Leland Vittert, he actually knows firsthand what it means to be a foreign correspondent, the dangers of reporting in another country. He's covered several Middle Eastern conflicts and also spent time in Ukraine in 2014. Leland, good morning to you.
Morning.
I'm sure that, as was the case with many journalists, when you heard about Brent Renaud's death, it had to be kind of a stunning moment.
Shocking, but not really all that stunning, I think, probably, because we know that since 2010 or so, the rules for journalists have changed. And when you used to cover conflict, you were seen as something as an independent observer, and both sides granted you that freedom and that privilege that you weren't going to be targeted, almost as if you were a member of the Red Cross or something like that. We saw that change certainly in Egypt when the Mubarak regime started going after journalists. Gaddafi continued that in 2011. And then by the time I left the circuit, as we used to call it, in 2014 after Ukraine, when we were in eastern Ukraine, we were clearly targeted by the Russian partisans, singled out and subject to some rather harsh techniques and conditions. So it's clear that no longer are journalists granted that, and they're being targeted. And this is the obvious continuation and sad result of that. You said that you were had techniques, I think is the word you used, by Russians in Ukraine in 2014. What does that mean? Oh, no. The Russian partisans in 2014 certainly started really harassing and threatening journalists and making it very clear to you that you were not welcome, whether that was by detaining you or whether that was by beating some of my colleagues at checkpoints and the like. But they began targeting you in a way that it was clear, and they wanted you to understand that if you did or said something they didn't like, or you were in a place they didn't like, that there was going to be a real price paid for that. We hadn't seen that by a modern government, if you will, which Russia purports to be in past history. Obviously, for example, in Egypt and Libya, those regimes started doing that. But 2014, when the Russians started doing it, it was a marked change. And that this is the natural continuation of that, as we understand, at least in the case of Brent Renaud. He and his team were targeted because they were journalists. And we have to assume that it's very likely that Benjamin Hall and his team for Fox, my old colleagues, were targeted as well. And the Russians are doing this for the very reason that people are journalists. They don't want the world to see what's happening and what they are doing. Therefore, they will kill the people who are doing it, who are showing the world what's happening. If nothing else, is to serve as a warning to others. Hey, don't leave your hotel in Kyiv. Don't get off the balcony. Maybe get out of Kyiv, because if you do show what Russia's doing, we'll kill you. Did you have any close calls that you can actually speak about? There were a lot of situations probably that I'm happy my mother didn't see the videotape of, but I think the important thing at times like this is to focus on the people who are there right now. And telling old war stories often brings up the memories of those who aren't with us anymore. But suffice it to say that the thing that I really think is most important as we look at this and we think about what Robert Sherman was doing over the past couple of weeks is remember how important what they're doing really is. And at no time in history, really, are independent journalists more needed and more important than in a time of war, especially at a time when truth becomes so malleable and when the Russians view information as an extension of war. Finding independent voices and having them go out and report on things is really, really important and valued. And I think there's another side to this, which is to celebrate the bravery and the dedication of people like Brent and people like Benjamin Hall, who have this calling, for lack of a better term, and realize the importance of what they're doing and realize the risks and take those risks willingly to fulfill that mission. Yeah. You said a lot there, and you said so much that was very poignant and very important to state. So, Leland, thank you. And thank you so much for watching. Make sure to click on the red subscribe button below so you can get more of NewsNation's fact-driven, unbiased coverage.